Hello, welcome back. Today's November 24th. It is Black Friday. May the odds be ever in your favor.
Woo.
If you're doing some shopping today.
I think there'll be a big, because last year Black Friday was not good, right? It was less. I think people will be back. I think they're broke.
Yeah, I think most people are broke. But that might mean people are more likely to go out looking for a deal to get the Christmas presents for family and friends and stuff.
Possibly. Be careful out there. Let's talk about some artificial intelligence, because that is the way that our world is going, and it's taking over everybody's job, even the ones that were seriously a lot of school and high paying before.
Google's DeepMind weather AI can forecast extreme weather faster and more accurately. It turns out that even if you've got decades of experience just having terabytes and terabytes of real-time weather data, you can make lots of predictions, including predictions like a tropical storm is going to form, even though it looks like it's a clear, awesome situation.
The one that they talk about in the sub-headline here with Hurricane Lee, that wasn't that impressive. Everyone knew where it was going pretty early.
Yeah.
Because there was a high shear pushing it out to sea.
What's wild is they're looking at real-time data, but they're not running it through the simulation. They're simply looking at real-time data and comparing it to historical data. And they're like, I think that's going there. It's like generative text.
Yeah.
Except it's generative weather.
How did it do with the one in, where was it? It was down in Mexico. It hit the panhandle. That was the one that like threw everyone off because it intensified from like a tropical storm to like almost, I think it was almost a category 5 within like 24 hours.
Well, you're such a weather buff that you should always be comparing the AI to the real world event.
Yeah.
And you can talk about it. It can be one of
The
those
weather community, the
YouTube
weather fandom.
weather people. And that's not all they can predict.
AI could predict a heart attack risk up to 10 years in the future, finds an Oxford study. Basically, it's like, here's a cardiac CT scan. And what do you think, AI? And the AI's like, this doesn't look good.
You're going to die.
I should try to send my data and see what it thinks. It's like, oh, ooh.
It probably compares it to everybody else and it's like, oh, you have this exact disease.
Yeah.
Kind of like how your doctors did IRL where they're like, we don't know what this is. And then now they've seen more patients with it.
Yeah. There's so many patients that have the same thing now. It's crazy. There's over 1 million cases of it last year. And it was up from like, the previous year was like 30,000.
Yeah. Remember the theory that they're introducing it on purpose? I don't know who they is, but how do we all of a sudden jump? Now, if you just look at the picture in the story, you might think that's a turd. It's not. It's an ancient scroll.
Nvidia GPUs are used to decipher ancient Greco-Roman scroll. And not to take anything away from this person, but this person like had a GeForce GTX 1070, and the scans are already a thing. They just spent a lot of time setting up the software, and then the software ran fine on a GTX 1070.
Well, he figured out to look for the cracks in the letters, and based on those cracks, put things back together. But anyway, he figured it out. The word meant purple. $40,000 for figuring out the word meant purple. But that's still cool.
Well, that's what he won. He won. I don't know if it was $40,000 cash or a single H100.
Well, it's a big upgrade from the 1070.
Yeah.
And YouTube knows that pretty soon a lot of the content will just be AI generated.
It's already here.
And it'll just be constant garbage, and it'll be like Google search. You have to sift through so much trash, and they're trying to figure out a way to get ahead of it.
YouTube adapts its policies for the coming surge of AI videos. Now you have to hit a little checkbox to say, did you use AI to generate any of the content in this video? Yes or no?
But only if it looks real. If it looks like a real person, you have to say it's AI. If it's just like an AI cartoon or something, they're okay with that.
So in the gardening space, you'll see these videos where it's like, it just shows images of plants and then it has a person talking over it. And most of the time the information is garbage in them. But like the voice AIs have gotten so good that they sound like it's a real person. And because gardening is kind of an old person hobby, there's like all these comments that are like, why did the lady say this? That's not how that works, right? And then people are all confused to like talking to each other. Like, I don't understand.
It's like when the old people call you and they're like, you're on my caller ID. And you have to be like, oh no, that's spoofing.
Yeah. And explaining that process is just difficult.
They don't usually understand it. And AI, of course, as usual, super racist. We have this argument come up over and over. The explanation is simple. That's the training data. That's how it works. But it's a good headline.
White faces generated by AI are more convincing than photos, finds survey.
So people were shown actual people and AI generated people, and they actually picked the AI generated people more often, but only if they're Caucasian. Once they switched up, because the AI training data doesn't have enough to make good people of color, they're like, oh yeah, that's definitely fake.
I wonder too if it's kind of like a product of where we're used to seeing really hyper filtered faces now, where people use like the beautification apps and stuff. So like the super smooth skin on an AI model looks more realistic because that's what it's trained on.
But it's not just now. For a long time, we've been seeing it in our magazines, right?
Yeah.
At the grocery store. Now, is this going to be one of those things where, like, when it comes to fighting Skynet, only
the ugly will survive.
Well, no, only the people of color will be able to go out and do the missions because can't see them.
I look forward to selling the holographic banana stickers on the Level 1 store that'll make you invisible to the militant AIs.
Well,
Getting them shipped is going to be real trouble, though.
Maybe not being able to be created by AI easily is going to be an advantage in some cases, especially when it comes to not wanting your image to be used very creepily.
Giant AI platform introduces bounties, quote unquote, for deepfakes of real people, including one bounty for one person who has no significant public presence.
So they're like, hey, I want to create nudes of this person. Here's a picture. And the people will go and do that. And then they might get paid for it if it's a good one.
It's like that one episode of Deep Space Nine where Quark was trying to get 3D holographic pictures of Kira.
It's exactly like that.
They actually talked about that in the article. A whole paragraph describing the plot.
And we know that AI, it's wrong a lot. It makes a lot of mistakes, but they don't call them mistakes. They call them something else. And now that word is enshrined forever.
Hallucinate is chosen as Cambridge Dictionary's word of the year.
It's a good one.
So it was not peanut butter. It was not moist. Thank goodness.
Oh, Kraft.
Yeah,
They failed.
Kraft one. I thought, wasn't Kraft going after Webster?
Oh, you're right.
Or
Yeah.
Webster.
There's still time.
I like hallucinate as more of just I'm stupid and I've forgotten something and I use hallucinate now. Like, did I hallucinate that detail?
Yeah, it's nice. Shows you how much they twist our language and make us accept things. And if you're gonna go to the trouble of paying somebody a bounty for a deepfake, then you probably want to go ahead and give that an AI representation, right? So you can have the full e-girlfriend experience, but it might not last forever.
Users can't speak to virtual AI girlfriend because CarynAI, because the CEO is in jail for arson. So
Oops.
The company that built the AI version, the AI avatar of a real person to be your e-girlfriend, I guess, can't fix it because they're in jail for arson.
So here's the titular Caryn. She is no longer associated with the company because she said that the guy running it was maybe a little bit shady, as evidenced by the arson.
Also, that spelling of Caryn, that's Caryn.
As someone with an alternate spelling, I don't think.
No, but it's also got a C in it. K is the superior sound to depict the k sound.
And it seems that AI is getting better and better of all these little tasks, and it's getting easier and easier to interface with.
Make it real. AI prototype wows devs by turning drawings into a working piece of software. I saw this and it's like, let's make Breakout. And it turns out that Breakout is a common programming exercise. So this is maybe not the best example of AI because there is lots of code on the internet to do this. But it is absolutely mind-blowing that you could draw a picture, describe how it works, and the AI would figure it out enough to then give you working code for a Breakout game from a picture of, this is what I want to do.
It's going to change things.
I don't like change.
Well, you're in a bad time to be
I
alive.
am in a bad time to be alive.
I've been meaning to repeat this experiment with something that looks like Breakout, but actually has a wildly different game mechanic and see how it does with that.
And going on to some actual robot news, but I think there's only one story this week, and it's just really more bad news for Cruise.
Cruise robotaxis shut down their expansion, and they're pressing pause on supervised and manual trips too.
So basically, I guess they've had some time to look at what went wrong, and they're like, oh no, turn it all off
Shut it down.
before it kills again.
It literally identified this person as a box, and it wanted their blood for fuel.
It's got the taste of blood now. These must be destroyed.
Oh, look at that breaking headline.
What is it? I
Oh,
can't read
wow.
it.
That's crazy. We're going to have to cover that. You know what? Let's just go ahead and talk about that
Yeah,
in
yeah.
real time.
The FAA has cleared SpaceX to launch
No, do the red one.
Oh, the red one.
so
OpenAI
small.
says Sam Altman is exiting as CEO because the board no longer has confidence in his ability to lead. Dun 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 dun. Dun.
That
Oh.
literally, as we're filming, came up.
That's because he paused signups to OpenAI, and they're like, no, we need the money.
It has been performing terribly this week.
Yes.
Really, I hope they do something about it. But that's wild. I'm sure we'll have so much more to talk about that next week.
Yeah.
But now on to the boring story that was preceding that one.
The FAA clears SpaceX to launch a second Starship flight.
Why is this a story? Well, if you remember the first one, it exploded.
It didn't explode so much as melt the launch pad. And in so melting the launch pad, it damaged itself. I think it probably would have succeeded in its flight if chunks of the launch pad didn't fly up into the engines. Probably.
It's a problem.
You got to break a few spaceships to make an omelet.
I would be a little bit concerned if my satellite was going on that trip.
It sucks that Sam Altman is leaving because in his little speech thing, he actually had reasonable things to say.
And let's remember that he's also WorldCoin.
Yeah.
He
I
Man got his money and is getting out.
Yeah.
Well, he's not getting out. He's being forced out. But some would say the sky's the limit for Sam Altman to go and start his own thing. But there are other limits above the sky. And you have to take care of your tools even in space.
Look, up in the sky, it's a bird, it's a plane, it's a tool bag. Well, it turns out one of the astronauts spacewalking let their tool bag go, and you can see it with a pair of binoculars because it's currently in low Earth orbit, about 1 second ahead of the space station.
How embarrassed are you?
Oops.
I would be super. I don't know why, but I would be super embarrassed if that was me.
Also, it was one of the all-girl spacewalks that was supposed to be like, girl power, and they lost their tool bag.
Let's go shopping for new tools
Let's go on Amazon. Can we get the one-day delivery?
in space.
Station.
They can, but I can't.
And here's a little bit of a terrifying. You know what? Here's the bingo card. You don't have it yet. Soon in the Level1
Oh, I don't
store.
think I had this. I don't think I put I put black hole stories on bingo card, but I don't think I did.
Didn't you do Carrington?
I didn't do Carrington.
Wow, Krista.
We honestly, like, if we were gonna do it like on paper, we would need to do multiple variations because it's just a design right now. Like, it's just
Right, a
one
bing-
grid. Yeah.
Like the mathematics of bingo is actually quite complicated. Anyway, Carrington event is something that gets discussed almost every week. And that's because it's a terrifying thing that could happen to us and has happened in the past. But here's a new fear.
A supernova destroyed, quote unquote, some of Earth's ozone for a few minutes in 2022. New study suggests explosive events in space have the potential to temporarily switch off the natural shield that protects us from harmful radiation. There are
It breaks your concentration.
the power grid, there are actually people that monitor for space weather to do things with the power grid and to do things with satellites. Like, satellites will go into a low power mode when they're detecting disturbances.
So if one of our nearer star neighbors were to have this supernova, it would likely roast the ozone to the point that our radiation protection would be gone.
I'm just gonna pretend I didn't hear that.
Time to never go outside. And/or I knew that those lead blankets would come in handy.
There's not enough sunscreen in the world, Krista, to protect you
Ugh.
if that were to happen.
So,
And the other problem that we have, we talk about the new SpaceX stuff going up, is that just more and more trash in the sky. And sky trash has a special problem when it comes to retrieving it that may have just been solved.
Airbus introduces a quote unquote Detumbler device to address satellite tumbling in low Earth orbit.
So it actually uses magnets and the magnetic field around the Earth to stabilize. Because if you have a satellite that's just spinning, then how do you grab it without smashing into it and causing damage? Because if you just crunch it, then little pieces are going to fly off and you've compounded the problem. So good job, Airbus. And we're coming up on a special kind of arrangement in the heavens where Mars will be outside of our communication.
NASA's Mars fleet will still be conducting science while lying low, while out of communications range.
It's on the DL.
Lying flat, like the Chinese.
We're going to send you a to-do list. You just work on that, and then we'll check in with you in a few months.
What a great basis for a sci-fi where, because this lasts for what, 2 weeks? Where we colonize Mars, and then after the 2 weeks, communication is restored, and everybody's dead.
Ooh.
And somebody has to go out and find out what.
It's like a modern Roanoke story.
Yeah.
That's what we could title our movie.
It's Roanoke, but like some of the letters are numbers.
The O is Mars.
Oh, there we go.
And you gotta have a black hole story, right? And this is a incredibly huge black hole. What is its secret for getting this incredible mass?
NASA telescopes discover a record-breaking black hole.
It's been eaten a lot.
Actually, the answer is it was born fat.
Oh.
Big baby.
boned.
Yeah, big baby. Real tough on the mother.
Ooh.
And they think that if you're born big as a black hole, you don't have as much limits on your growth potential. You can get really huge.
That stands to reason.
Yeah. And Japan, we've seen China go to the moon. We've seen India launch space missions. We've seen Russia do some stuff. And Japan is like, you know what? We got to be a part of this.
Japan is going to create a 1 trillion yen fund to develop outer space industries.
They're looking to do more like the space construction type stuff.
That'll definitely lead to more giant robots.
I was about to say giant robots.
And moving on to the nonsense section, there's still a little entertainment news. God, I'm so happy about this. I'm so happy this failed.
The Marvel's meltdown. The Disney MCU posts its lowest box office opening ever at just $47 million.
What an unfortunate acronym, BO. Box office. I didn't know what that was until you said it.
HBO.
I guess that makes sense.
So yeah, people did not want to see this. They blame burnout because of Disney Plus showing so much Marvel, but I mean, it could just be bad, right?
I mean, yeah, it's possible it's just bad, but I mean, how many...
Is it possible for there to be a bad movie in the Marvel Cinematic Universe? No.
Or, well, the thing is, it's not even just movies. It's also like all the shows and the spin-offs and the... Quick, you got to watch this every other week, and it's just tiring.
I think it's more
I'm not even into it. It's like I can't keep up with it.
It's more like the Simpsons meme with Principal Skinner. It's like, am I out of touch? No, the children are wrong.
Well, you know, one movie that should not have outperformed that and yet did was Five Nights at Freddy's. Now, I've not really heard of it. Are people liking it? Or?
Kids really like it, like teenagers and stuff. I think.
Kids liking it would explain why this step had to be taken because no one wants that association.
Chuck E. Cheese removes animatronics in all locations except one following the release of Five Nights at Freddy's.
What's the one location that has it still?
The one that's actually haunted.
I saw the episode of Always Sunny that was about Chuck E. Cheese. I think I watched it on an airplane. I think they almost said something to me because I was laughing so hard.
Sir, you're not allowed to laugh on this flight. You're supposed to be miserable.
I was just out of control.
So as a sign of the times, the animatronic bands, because these were like, they would play music and, the animatronics would go along with it. Those will all be replaced with giant video walls.
And dance floors that are interactive and other stuff like that. Perhaps a bit safer.
Safer than animatronics. They're not supposed to interact with them. The animatronics
Less
are all
likely
up
to
on a
become
stage.
haunted, I think.
Yeah.
I have a feeling that episode of Always Sunny was a little bit too true to life for some of the Chuck E. Cheese locations, which is what makes it so funny.
And boy, this is an end of an era. I don't think anybody expected this. This was not the
This is an
twist.
ominous forebear of something terrible.
What does it mean?
The Hollywood Reporter headline is that Snoop Dogg claims that he's quitting smoking and asks for privacy during this time.
The picture he posted on his social media, for a second I was like, did he die? Because it looks really serious. And then it's like, oh no, I'm just stopping smoking.
I remember Willie Nelson announced that maybe last year.
Wow.
I mean, they're getting old. Although Snoop's in his 50s.
He said he was doing it for his grandkids in the post.
He's a very well-preserved 52. And here's just a wild one. I love these furry stories, but I never know when to really believe them or not.
It's so absurd that it's like, I don't know what's real for these people.
Does this actually exist?
The headline is Evangelical Christian furries are worried they'll be targeted for their faith because they have anti-gay beliefs.
The When I first saw this headline, I read it as fundies. Like I didn't until I scrolled down, and then I was like, oh,
Wait, what?
yeah. Because I didn't even put those two. That Venn diagram's just two circles in my
But
mind.
apparently not. I'm sure some of the, if you're like, like super anti-gay, you probably got some fundamentalist beliefs, right? But anyway, they're worried that when they're with the furry community, they might be outed as Christians and suffer backlash from that, which is an astonishing inability to understand the original problem. I mean, it's circular. It's circular hate. Welcome to our world with fur. I can only guess who added this one.
This is an exciting drop for the week.
Not really nonsense.
It's nonsense for me. New plant hardiness map dropped. This is the USDA hardiness map. So if you're a gardener, you need to recheck your zone.
So we've moved from yellow to green now.
So we were zone 6, and most of I think our area is still closer to 6, but a few areas in Kentucky have moved to 7, which means it is a warmer zone, which means you can grow more plants for longer.
Can we get citrus?
No, we're not. We're not high enough or low enough for citrus.
What about good coffee or tea?
Also not possible in our zone. You have to have really warm climate. But, give it a couple decades and we'll be there.
I'd be able to do the greenhouse thing.
Yeah. I'd probably have to do a heated greenhouse, need electricity.
Don't you got to grow a lot of tea?
I'm not sure. I think I looked into it briefly, but yeah, we can't grow it here.
Well, ultra marathoning is something that's just come into my, reality bubble recently. And now you start, you become aware of something, you start seeing a lot of it. And this one was pretty hilarious.
Joasia Zakrzewski? I don't know. Zakrzewski?
Sounds
Polish.
Polish.
Polish,
Been
yeah.
banned for 12 months for using a car in a race.
They call that yellow blazing in the thru hiking community.
No.
Oh.
Taking a car instead of hiking your miles.
Now, here's the thing about ultra marathoning. It's 48 hours. You're running for 48 hours. So by the end of it, you really don't know where you are. You're just like
Tired,
delirious. So that was her excuse for getting in the car. But then they were like, yeah, but it's been 2 weeks. So you've had time to sober up and reflect on it. And you didn't give the trophy back. So she's banned for a year. And the asylum system might have some loopholes. This guy's lawyer is claiming that it's not the case, but I don't know. There's some really good evidence.
Man granted asylum in UK for claiming to be gay, arrested after he sires 3 kids with 3 different women.
Sires is such an archaic word to use for this headline in this reality.
More importantly, a $250,000 scam set up that he had going with his bros back in the home country. I don't remember where that was. And he had been taking advantage of all these people while he was prolifically going after the ladies. Fecundity. That's a good word. He's got it. And this is an interesting one. Should you be released from prison just for being too fat?
Man who killed his girlfriend released from prison after becoming dangerously overweight.
So you might be thinking, well, I don't know, is he at risk of reoffending? He killed her over breadcrumbs in the bed. I feel like that's a personality that could strike again.
Also, yeah, he also just killed her, in general. He's a murderer.
Yeah, but they say that the prison system cannot give him a low-calorie diet. Why don't they just give him less food?
Yeah,
That's
there's,
awesome.
there's 1,000 ways to get around this to stop releasing.
Prison could be the ultimate weight loss program.
He has all that time to work out.
You know what? I've got my cats. We're getting a little pudgy. I mean, they're still kind of fat. I cut back on their food. They don't have any choice.
Are you comparing your home to prison for
My
your
home
cats?
is a cat prison, but it's a very nice one.
It is a nice cat and dog prison.
They get a lot of attention. And this man is getting some attention, but it's not the kind that he wants, because when he decided to go out and do his fun community activity, he decided to do a little methamphetamine first, and that's frowned upon.
Tennessee man arrested for DUI and meth while driving lawnmower Santa's train full of kids. This is a riding lawnmower, pulling a bunch of kids behind it. And this is just not a good situation, no matter how you cut the cheese.
That's a time-honored tradition. My husband does that when the kids come over. Not the meth part, but he gets the riding mower out, and we have a little wagon we hitch to it, and all the kids pile in
Oh
it.
my God. That's so desperately Caucasian.
They have a good time. They love it.
Well, the parents suspected something might be up. They were right. And the pharmacy situation continues to deteriorate, and they continue to come up with new and innovative ways to try and stop people from robbing them blind.
Northeast CVS only has photos of paper products on shelves due to theft.
This also makes me laugh just because, like, low stock is a story that needs to be covered. Like, they have that 24-hour news cycle. They got to fill it with something.
No, this is not about stock.
Well, I know, but it's still, what a silly story.
Rampant theft. It's interesting that the homeless people need paper products, but I guess that makes sense, right? You got to clean up.
Yeah.
And this one, I feel like, did we do this one last week? Because I feel like we've talked about this, but this is another one of those things I don't think we did.
I don't think we talked about
It was
this
on
last
the
week. I
12th.
don't remember it.
But if you are an airline pilot and you want to go somewhere, they have something called the jump seat, which is the little seat that folds down.
We covered it.
Did we talk about that?
Did we?
Yeah.
We did this story?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
See, I
100%.
thought I remembered it. I'll give you a quick flash of it. If you,
Yeah, if you want to
also
go check
don't
it.
remember.
It turns out it was magic mushrooms. We did not have the answer that it was magic mushrooms
Oh,
when we covered it.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
But it
you have a
turns out-
little less nonsense in your life.
He
this
had
week.
done mushrooms 2 days before while camping, and it was still
Ooh.
powerful enough to make him try to kill himself and everybody on the plane. It was a cargo plane, though. It wasn't a passenger plane.
You know what I love about this week's nonsense is that we had a whole subsection under nonsense for defecation.
Well, Wendell, he's got his sensitivity to this
Yeah.
kind of thing. So imagine, Wendell, that someone convinced you to go to Disney World, and you're standing in line, playing on your phone. But when's the last time you were in a big line like that?
It's been a while.
I was gonna say Micro Center, but
There's usually not that much of a line there.
Oh. And somebody just decides to drop trowel and relieve themselves right in front of you.
It's true. People do poop a lot in ride lines at Disneyland and Disney World.
most magical place on earth.
And they have a whole system and a protocol for dealing with it, which is kind of horrifying. But also, like, we really need the Judge Dredd universe where when things like this happen, you just get vaporized. It's fine if it's accidental, but if you do that deliberately,
It's like I can't lose my spot in line.
something has gone wrong with the society that enables that, and we need to take drastic measures.
So Disney's the most magical place on earth, and the employees are never allowed to call anything what it is. So they had the code H because there are horses at Disney World, and sometimes horses poop.
Yeah, that's fine.
And so you call the code H on the radio, and someone comes and takes care of that. So now that there is a code human H.
Ew.
Also, they told a story about one. So, like, some people apparently are just like, they got to go now, and they're just looking for like a bathroom. And one woman found a door and burst into it, but instead of being a bathroom, it was the control room for the ride. So, right next to the guy running the ride, she just pulled her pants down and dropped one.
Again,
Did she make eye contact while she did
They
it?
didn't give
Because
us
it
that
doesn't happen
detail.
instantly.
I mean, Disney controls enough of the Florida legislature. They could make the Judge Dredd universe happen for those kind of things.
No, because then that cuts into their bottom line. They want you spending that money and pooping in their lines.
I could totally see Disney having ISO cells in the underground thing.
It should just be a grate underneath like where the line is, and then the water flushes it away.
We don't want to encourage it.
No, but I mean, let's face it, they're not going to add more bathroom facilities.
Well, more bathroom facilities are going to be required because we have an ever expanding number of humans on this earth, and a lot of them are moving away from larger metropolitan areas to our little neck of the woods.
Lexington plans to spend $75,000 on a consultant to address stench from sewage treatment plants.
I like to imagine the consultant just handing a piece of paper. It's like, yep, it stinks.
The problem you've got here is you've got giant pools of feces. I'll take my $75,000 now.
Thank you.
It turns out one of the best ways to deal with that is sunlight, like to just grow, algae ponds, and that makes methane and other things that are easy to smell from far away.
Apparently, it's been really bad lately. I haven't been to Lexington in a while, but
Well, they built housing developments next to
The sewage treatment
maybe
plant.
stop expanding. Maybe that's the answer.
Plant some more trees. We're gonna need some more trees, like a lot of
I
trees.
don't think trees are going to block that.
Imagine that scene in The Matrix where they're talking about guns, but it's trees instead.
I'm gonna need a lot of trees. That was me on the forestry website this year.
Well, people do generate a lot of poop, but nothing compared to the white rhino, who is really has a lot of throughput.
Meet the woman who picks up 125 pounds of rhino poop a day at Safari West.
That's a me worth of poop.
That is 75 pounds a day per rhino, per adult. Apparently, rhinos' digestive system not very efficient, and most of the hay just rolls on through. So this gal has to. She describes how she puts it all in a giant pile, and then one day a week, while they're distracted, brings the truck in.
Wow. Probably had to have a college degree for that too, which is insane.
She says she loves it. Loves
I
being
mean,
with the
people
rhinos.
who work with animals for pennies like that, they do tend to love it.
I mean, if they paid well enough, it's like, oh, the high stress of, it's like, you don't have to do any of that. All this is taken care of for you. All you got to do is this. Like,
I don't know.
Sometimes I dream of manual labor like that. Yeah.
I love my animals, but one of the low points in my day is dealing with their poop.
yeah.
But I might feel a little bit better about it if they were as cool as these guys.
The Scottish wildcat has been wiped out by breeding with domestic cats. So there used to be a Scottish wildcat, and then now there isn't because the Scottish wildcat was genetically compatible with
House cats.
house cats.
That's why you should always keep your cats inside and spay and neuter if you don't.
You should not be having baby cats.
The article says that the species goes back at least 2,000 years, but they've only been exposed to domestic house cats for maybe 25, 30 years.
How much would you love to have a half wildcat cat?
Oh, I'm sure that there's probably rules against importing them, but
We have wildcats here.
and they're going to shred all the furniture, and you wouldn't want to declaw them because that's just mean.
Well, that's true of real cats too. Just
Yeah,
baby
you're
cats.
just describing cats. And here's a depressing story because I'm all for the forward movement of science and we need to learn things, but at what cost? I mean, this thing was born to suffer.
The hybrid baby monkey is made from cells of 2 embryos.
Wouldn't this just be called a chimera?
Yeah, it is. Yeah, in
Yeah.
the article. Yeah. They call it this chimera is made to be more like humans so that human diseases can be studied on it. And meanwhile, it will literally say, "Why was I made to feel pain?"
You say was, because
Oh.
shortly after existing, it was set with uncontrolled hypothermia that they couldn't stop, and difficulty breathing. So this poor affront to nature could not exist. Also, they're thinking about growing human organs in monkeys with this technology, which
Don't they do
feels
that with
wrong.
pigs now? Or we take the organs sometimes.
It's weird. It's a weird situation. But maybe using this technology, we could come up with smarter pandas.
Xi Jinping hints that China could send new pandas to U.S. as "quote unquote" envoys of friendship.
I'm reading this as like a threat. Like, I'll do something to the pandas if you don't accept our friendship.
You give us GPUs, we give you pandas.
We should mix the pandas with the whales. And invasive species are a problem, but they're a huge problem when they're also a huge dangerous animal.
Colombia starts sterilizing hippos descended from pets of drug kingpin Pablo Escobar. We've covered the rampaging hippos a number of times in the nonsense section on this show, but
Cocaine hippo, quote.
it's like cocaine bear, but in hippo form.
Hippos are, I mean, like, they're really cute. I love that Fiona at the Cincinnati Zoo, but like, they are brutal animals.
Number one killer of humans, right?
Yeah.
So the problem they're having is that there are literally no threats and no competition for food for the hippos. It's like the cornucopia for them down there. So they can't trap them because they're never hungry.
And they're so hungry. Hungry hippos.
These are not hungry hippos. They're sated hippos.
Why is it doing that?
And here's one that you don't expect.
Plane forced to return to JFK Airport after horse on board gets loose.
So this horse was being shipped. He
They
got
don't have
out of
any
his
on board
pen.
that can deal with that. So
To
Yeah, I
wrangle
don't-
the horse.
Like the 2 pilots aren't allowed to go back because something terrible could happen.
yeah.
So here's the other thing that I don't understand here. Because of the weight of the fuel, they had to dump fuel into the Atlantic before they landed.
20 tons.
So are they not able to land with full fuselage?
They can, but this is a security protocol because of the events of
September 11th, 2001.
so standard protocols like, oh, you're approaching New York City and you don't have that's not okay.
Wow.
Got to protect those steel beams.
Yeah.
I mean, there were human lives involved too. But
It's not the jet fuel that got them. And how hyped would you be, Krista, if you walked outside your house and you saw a giant seal?
I'd be confused because we're landlocked.
But you'd be hyped.
I'd be like, how did you get over the mountains, little seal? Tasmanian woman tells office she can't come in as 600-kilogram Neil the seal is blocking her car.
Now, here's what's interesting, though. Every picture that she provided here he was in front of the car. Why can't you just back up?
Maybe there's a fence behind it?
Yeah, the seal is between her and the car, so I get it.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd want to try to like step past the seal.
Oh, you saying like don't get around him? She said he was welcome in her yard anytime. She loved him.
Yeah, I mean, he's cute.
He's tagged, and he is a known local troublemaker, I guess is how it was described.
He's going to steal a car. He's a cute boy.
Well, maybe you're thinking about adding a pet to your life, and you're one of those weird people that wants a rodent as a pet. And you could just go and pick up some from your local humane shelter. Apparently, they are also sometimes in need of being adopted. But there were too many in Tucson, and it led to tragedy.
Small animals sent to Tucson for rescue were fed to the reptiles because the reptiles needed food, and they had too many small animals.
And they probably were breeding like small animals do.
How do we know this? Well, it turns out that some very concerned people who love rodents said, hey, we're looking at the numbers and 300 were sent and 50 were adopted. Where were these other 250? And the guy running the place was like, I don't know. And then they got his text messages. And immediately after the delivery of the rodents, he text messaged his underling and is like, hey, I need your help processing rodents.
Oh,
But the snakes are super hyped.
I don't know a lot of shelters around here except animals like that.
Yeah, it's weird. You think of pet stores with those, not shelters.
Yeah.
And why did you have 300 of them?
Usually people who have like rabbits and stuff, it's like, oh, it's going to go live on a farm and do 4-H shows. Like, you don't send it to a rescue around here.
These went and lived in anacondas. Anacondos. And finally, here's a terrifying thing that you don't want to see when you're driving around, although I would be kind of excited about it too.
Lion sparks panic in the streets after escaping from circus. So this was in Rome, or near Rome, and there was a circus in town, and the lion got out, and then they said, hey, wait a minute, don't go outside. We need to catch the lion.
Yeah, I think if it didn't see me and I was like in a secure location, I would be excited. But if I was on the street and I saw it like across the street, I'd be freaked out.
He could definitely come through a car window on you.
You think?
If he wanted to. Oh, for sure. They can break the femur of an antelope with just their paw.
Probably been
super
declawed
powerful.
though, don't you think? A lot of the circus animals
See,
are.
I don't think we should be having lions in circuses.
Yeah.
Obviously not, because they escape.
Even without the threat of them killing us.
Yeah.
Just for the lion's well-being. I feel like that's...
Well, they can't maim you, but they can break your legs and your ribs.
That's maiming.
That lion,
Yeah.
you could take all that lion's teeth and its claws, he would still mess you up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's a big boy.
He would get you down and gum you to death.
It'd be adorable while it happened, though.
Well,
You've wasted a perfectly good Black Friday.
but think if you weren't wasting your time here, you'd be spending your money on Black Friday, and you shouldn't do that. Save your money.
Or maybe they listen to this in the car on their way to a sale.
Strong way to do it.
We will see you guys next week as we prepare for Christmas. Bye.